Well, hello everybody. How's everybody doing today? It's 12 noon in Wisconsin. Hi, hello to you, Carrie. Sam's good. Genevieve's good. I'm glad to hear it. So I have a funny story for you. Do I look like I'm in a weird place? Oh, Kalissa's amazing. I love to hear that. Funny you should ask, Genevieve. So I'm going to give you a hint, okay? So I'm going to pick you up and I'm going to show you this courtyard. And then you tell me if you think you know where I am. Take a look at the way people are dressed. Anybody? You need another hint? No, that's a good guess though, isn't it? SeaWorld's always got a lot of pretty trees. No. Okay, I'll give you another hint. You ready? That was a fake sneeze, but that's another hint for you. Yes, Emily. Good job. So I'm at the hospital. I'm totally fine, just so you know. So this happened very quickly. So I'm not sure if I mentioned it last week in class or not, but a couple of you guys, I've been emailing with your parents about Manatee's trip or different things going on. And I am at the hospital in Tampa because my mom was diagnosed with breast cancer about 2 weeks ago. And it was very, very fast. We didn't know really what was going on with it. And then literally 2 weeks to the day later, which was yesterday, she had surgery. So we came in yesterday morning and she had her surgery and everything. Yes, thank you, Ella. The good news is the cancer had not spread and the surgery went totally fine. And the cool thing is I got to spend the night with my mom in the hospital last night. I got to sleep on one of those little chairs that reclines, like totally flat. It was so fun. And I got to eat hospital food, which Mrs. Henriksen loves hospital food. So all in all, it was fun. And she's doing great, which is the good news. So I am down in the courtyard of the hospital coming to you for class. So just a little excitement for today. So I don't know, Ella. I think there's something wrong with me, but I don't know what it is. I think it's because in the hospital cafeteria, you have so many different choices that you can have like whatever you want. You want to say hi?
Hello.
This is Sarah, my youngest daughter, and this is Connor.
Hello.
So they are here to sit with Grammy while I do class with you guys. Yeah, and it was really funny because Sarah told Connor about what cool thing we did last week in class, which reminded me, because obviously I completely forgot. See my cool new bracelet? It reminded me that I haven't showed you the video yet. So do you guys want to see the video of the underwater pumpkin carving? This is the underwater video. Yeah, I figured you might want to see it. Did you think that was fun? Were you surprised? Good. I was hoping you'd be surprised. Okay, so let me see if I can share it with you here. Actually, before I do, let's pray, and then I'll share it with you, okay? All right, pray with me. Dear Lord, we thank you so much for just the breeze that's blowing and a beautiful day. And no matter what the weather's doing, no matter where we live, I just thank you for being with us today. And Lord, I just thank you for just what fun it is to be able to come over to each other's house every Tuesday and hang together. And as we learn about cool cephalopods and talk about scuba diving from last week, I just ask that you'll show us all the different things that point to you in creation. Thank you for this time. Thank you for health and wellness, and thank you for being with us through sickness. We ask this in Jesus' name. Amen. All right. So, yes, thank you. I appreciate that. All right, so let me show you this video. I hope it loads fast enough. I'm using my, what do you call it, my screen, my phone to tether my internet. So, oh, hang on. There isn't much sound with it, just so you know, but let me see if I can show you. Okay, can you see the scuba diver on the screen now? Okay, good. All right, so watch this lady with the crazy hair. Yeah, it's sort of like a hot spot. So here's your underwater version of last week's class. Chat in, tell me what you're thinking. You can hear Miss Joanne talking on the surface. I'm telling you, it was tougher than I thought it would be. She did a really good job. That little camera is only like this big, and she was holding it while she was talking to you, so she had no idea what it was showing, you know. So she did a pretty good job. Can I just tell you that my favorite place to be scuba diving is under the water? Well, that doesn't make sense, but my favorite place to scuba dive is in like the pool, an aquarium, where you can literally just lay on the bottom. I've spent so many hours underwater that I truly could sleep, I think, on the bottom of a pool. I don't recommend that. Even if you have your scuba certification, I don't recommend that. But, you know, remember, I did it for years and years and years for work. So I would spend 12 hours a day underwater. So when you do it commercially and you do it, you know, for work, it becomes truly second nature. So fun, huh? A little snapshot for you. Yeah, I was hoping we'd be surprised. Either you'd be surprised or you'd think I was crazy, one or the other. Week 11. Hi, Jake. So not much to tell you about Tank Talk this week. Last time I was home a couple days ago, everybody was doing fine in the tank. I found a mollusk. I don't know if I told you that last week, but I found a mollusk in the tank. So I'm hoping that next week when we're home, I can pull him out with like a net and show him to you. He goes into like these hibernation modes. So sometimes he's hard to find. Yes, Fred. Fred won. I know, Carrie. I was proud of myself too. Yes, cephalopods are a big hit. They are a big hit. So as far as Tank Talk, I think pretty much is the same. Maybe a little algae growing on the side, but that's about it. There's a man over here. Here's a news flash. I'm not sure what they're doing, but let's look. Let me see if I can make my screen big for you just for a second. So there's a man over here that looks like a trapper. He's wearing these big yellow gloves. Can you see him? And he's got like a wire hook in his hand. And he's looking through the bushes. So I'm not sure. We heard a couple of employees over there squealing that they must have seen something in the bushes or something. So I'm not really sure what that was. I know Sarah went over to check it out. So let's text her and see what was in the bushes. And we'll see if she texts back and tells us. But it must be, what I'm guessing is it's either like a raccoon, because this is like an area that there's garbage pails outside and it's very urban, right? But he also had really, really long, thick leather gloves on. And a lot of times that has to do with a raptor of some kind. If you ever see anybody at like a show that has their arm up and a bird standing on their arm and a leather strap in their hand, it's because the talons are, you know. Yeah, it could be an iguana. We don't usually have too many iguanas up this way, though. more, you know, like Miami and South. Yeah, so who knows? We'll see if she texts back and tells us what it is. But my guess is it's either a raccoon or a raccoon or some type of a bird of prey, like maybe a hawk with a broken wing or yeah. All right, so let's head back to that. Gosh, the weather is so beautiful. Did you like not having reading this week? Not having a reading assignment? A little bit easier homework? You're welcome. Sam's like, no, I want homework. Did anybody do the scuba experiment though? That was kind of fun. Lots of good videos. All right, well, that's okay. You still got time. So chat in and tell me, what was it that you learned other than you can carve a pumpkin underwater? What was it that you learned about scuba that you didn't know before? Well, this week, Ella, poof, you have reading. So chat in. What did you learn? Oh, good. Noah says the acronym. Good. Yes. Backpack's lightweight. It does look heavy. And you know what? It really is kind of heavy. Well, it's lightweight when you're putting it together. The heavy part is the tank, for sure, is really heavy. And then the weights that you put in the jacket, the BCD that holds you down, you know? Yeah, two breathing hoses. Yeah, I know. I didn't think we'd need weights to keep the pumpkin down either. That was, you know, and I get it that, you know, the pumpkin is a squash and it's light. But I figured when you hollowed out the pumpkin, you'd be able to sink it when you filled it with water. No. Yeah. What about goggles, Sam? That you need goggles to scuba dive with? Yeah, they have all different kinds too now. Different things. Um, so we talked a little bit about me working at the aquarium. What that was like, commercial diving and all that kind of thing. Um, yeah. Oh, I know. I loved hearing that, Carrie, that people can scuba dive with lots of disabilities, right? Yeah. So remember, there's lots of videos on the class pages if you guys want to look at it. I think I have to move here. Let's see. 'Can you guys hear me okay? Okay. You can hear me just fine? Okay. Good. Good, good. Thank you. All right, little quick thing I wanted to show you on the left-hand side here, that yellow mask right here. This is an example of a scientific specialty mask, okay? Full face mask. One of the coolest things about this mask is that it does not have you know, like how I'm wearing right now, earbuds, right? So I can hear if anything's going on. The full face mask doesn't have that. It has what's literally a little piece of like material that sits on the bone behind your ear, and the vibrations from the bone behind your ear, not in or on your ear, you can hear crystal clear what everybody is saying to you. It is the craziest thing. So there's nothing on your ears but just that little piece on the bone, and you can hear just as if I'm standing right in front of you and I'm not even underwater. So that's what you see right here in this picture. They're able to communicate back and forth because he's able to hear what the visitors are saying on the other side. So did you see in the shark video the turtle that I told you about, which is right here? You can see him right here. Yeah. A little fun fact about sharks, which we learned this back a few weeks ago, but remember I was telling you that Shark Week, you see a lot of these, a lot of cages, shark cages. Yeah, he's a lot bigger now. Remember that the shark cages are for your enjoyment mostly. Unless you're talking about like great white sharks or something like that, it really is just for the fear factor. We dove in this tank right here for 10 years with all the sharks this far away from us. No shark cage at all. And when Discovery Channel really took off with Shark Week and all the shark cage diving things and stuff they would show, all the aquariums around the country, to beef things up a little bit, dropped a cage in the shark tank just for visual. Oh, isn't that cool? So now in a lot of the places, it looks like the divers come in through a shark tank, but then they're still in the water. So just to give you an example, that it doesn't mean that you don't ever need one. Like I said, with great white sharks and the more aggressive sharks, certainly you would. But usually in an aquarium environment, they're pretty tame. Take a look right here. These two sharks right here have a very specific shape to their body. See their long top dorsal fin, their tail fin, and that little scoop to their body. These are called sand tiger sharks, not to be confused with tiger shark. Okay, tiger shark has a little more spots on its body. So a sand tiger shark is sort of like if you had a scale of totally mean, stay away from them sharks to teddy bear sharks. Sand tiger sharks look mean. They have at least 10 rows of teeth exposed when they, their mouth is open. They breathe, open mouth, and you can see all the rows and rows of sharp teeth. So when you look at them, they're on this side of the spooky scale. But when you look as far as sharks go, they're teddy bears. So aquariums around the country use sand tiger sharks in their exhibits because they're very, very docile. They're super, super comfortable with scuba divers, and they're one species of shark that if the shark goes over the top of you when you have scuba bubbles coming up, a lot of times those bubbles can get caught in the gills of the shark, and it freaks the shark out. It really gets them upset. So with the sand tiger shark, they're totally used to it. It doesn't bother them a bit usually. So next time you get a chance to go visit an aquarium with your family, remember the shape of this. Remember the shape of this shark, and if you ever see it again, you'll know why they have those kind of sharks in the exhibit. Okay? Yeah, she hasn't texted back yet. Could be a rabbit. Who knows? Or a rabbit. So we learned about the total diving system. Is this important to have all the different systems when you're scuba diving? Why? Why would it be important? Well, very good summing that up, Carrie, so you don't die. Right, because if you're missing one piece of it, Sam was talking about goggles. If you're missing the goggles, you can't see. If you're missing some part of the snorkeling system, if you're missing some part of the exposure system, you're going to get cold, you're going to get freezing, you're going to get, whatever the water temperature is. Air delivery system, that means you're holding your breath. You're not going to be down there very long. Information system, you aren't sure how long you're supposed to be down. Buoyancy, you have no control over whether you sink to the bottom like a rock or whether you shoot to the surface like a cannon. And specialty training, we talked about cave diving, commercial diving, scientific diving. You're going to need those special equipments, right? When you're doing stuff like that. So just to recap, humans cannot focus their eyes underwater. They can't breathe underwater. Their feet can't propel them underwater. In a pool, but beyond that. Long distances, no. So these are why we use a mask, snorkel, and fins. I know Kylie's going on the family Bahamas trip in spring, in March, beginning of March, and we do a ton of snorkeling on that trip. So if you have the chance to, Kylie, you and Mom, to grab a snorkeling set when you're home, it might be hard to find if you're living up north in the wintertime, but even if you order it online. If you can get a mask, you don't really need the fins, but a mask and a snorkel, good mask and snorkel, because the ones they have down in the Bahamas are kind of, they're they aren't quite as good, and you're going to want to be in the water a lot. So anybody who's going on that trip, that's this trip or any trip that goes to the Bahamas, we do a lot of snorkeling. So it's good to bring good snorkeling equipment with you. Yes, it is very cool how they invented all that. And how they figured out about scuba diving underwater is beyond me. And how many people had to die while they learned, how it works. We talked about exposure system. Let me ask you this. Is your rash guard that you wear to the beach, is that part of an exposure system? Yes, it is. Good, Ella. Yep, good. It sure is. Anything that's going to protect your body, and it might even be, you could even throw sunscreen into that if you want to. But exposure, it really isn't so much for the sun. It's really more for your physical skin against the water temperatures. Or remember jellyfish, all that sort of thing. I told you about that time that I was scuba diving and I had to jump in the water with all the jellyfish. Did I tell you that? Okay, good. I was going to say, if I didn't tell you that, I'll tell you on Nigerian week. Air delivery system. Remember, this is the one that's made up of 2 breathing hoses. The gauge that tells you how deep you've gone is one gauge. The other gauge is how much time you've been down, or how much pressure of air you have left in your cylinder or your tank. If your parents used to dive a long time ago, a lot of times I have a student that says, my dad used to dive and he showed me his scuba gear. So ask your parents if they have been scuba diving in their past and they have some equipment up in the attic. Ask them to take it down and take a look at it. Sometimes it's fun to take a look at it. They didn't used to have what they call the octopus, the second stage, where you have the breathing for your buddy. They didn't require that. It wasn't standard issue back 20 years ago. So sometimes mom and dad's equipment might look a little different. Great question, Genevieve. Why are there different color tanks? Because most girls like pink and blue and yellow and a choice. So when I got certified to dive, I was 19. I think I was 19. And all of my scuba gear was bright pink. My scuba bag, my mask, my fins, my snorkel, my suit, my BCD, my tank, everything. I looked so cool. Except now it looks kind of stupid. So, yeah. Now I look at it and I'm like, okay, so now I have a bright pink tank that my husband would never use, right? So, it's just for preference for a lot of people. Now, if you're talking about sizes, look at this little tiny one right here. See this little tiny, what we call a pony bottle? This, a lot of people that are boaters will keep that on their boat. Yeah, and it seems like it would be for little kids, but it's not. It's called a pony bottle, and it's very small because if you needed to get under your boat for some reason to check out something that was going on, like something was brushing up against the bottom or something, you could grab that. It has a mouthpiece like this short to it, so you're holding it. It's got the mouthpiece. You pop your snorkel on, and you zip underwater to see what's going on with it. So smaller tanks, some people use smaller tanks because it's just comfortable. It's more comfortable than the great big tanks are, If you're deep diving, a lot of people that are deep diving or cave diving do dual tank diving because they're going so deep. They're going to use up all the air in one tank, and they need the other tank's air to get them back to the surface. Okay? Yeah, it looks like I lost my internet there for a minute. Let me know when I'm back. Chat in and tell me if you see me. Okay. Okay, let's see. I'll check my internet connection. Thank you. There we go. It'll probably pop back here in just a second. All right. Let me just make sure. All right. Well, we have to go to break in a minute anyway, and I'm going to pop in. And we're back. Thank you, guys. So remember, anytime that Mrs. Henriksen gets kicked out, be patient. Give me just a minute to get back in. This could be internet connection even at home, right? Anything like that. The other thing is we're going to go to break here in just a minute, and I need to transfer inside because I have to get on power. So I'll get a little stronger internet connection probably when we're inside. Okay. All right. Let me pop back to the screen. Yeah, just wait a few minutes. I'll be right back in. Information system. We talked about the gauges. One of the cool things that I don't think Miss Joanne had time to talk to you about in class, maybe she did when I was underwater, she has all of her dive gauges on her watch. She has this like total Superman watch, and it has all the different things about her diving, all the diving she's done over time. It feeds into her computer. It's crazy cool. But when people get really into scuba diving, there's some serious money to put in it. We talked about the BCD. What's the importance of this? What's the importance of the buoyancy compensator device? Okay, I'll tell you what. Let's go to break. Yeah, okay. We're going to go to break now, and then we'll come back to that. We'll come back to this in a second. So you guys can go take your break, and I will be back when I have good internet connection. Okay? All right. I'll see you in just a few minutes, okay? Take 5. No micro video, okay, guys? Just so I can get the internet stable. Thanks. See you in 5 minutes. No, no drawing, baby, just because I'm trying to get the internet back up and stable. So just go ahead and take a break, and then I'll catch you back up in a minute, okay? Thanks. All right, guys, we're coming back now. And just forgive me if you hear, hi, just forgive me if you hear some noise in the background. I had to come inside and plug in. So we're in the surgical waiting area. This is where I spent the whole day yesterday waiting for my mama. And you can hear some babies crying. There's a lab right across from me. So there's a sweet little baby that does not want to be here. So you might hear a little crying and stuff in the background. But usually my headphones are pretty good about blocking out noises. So let's head back to our screen here. Thanks for being patient with me. All right, so one thing I wanted to tell you about this buoyancy compensator. When you look at the screen, let me move my little thing here. Remember that a lot of times people are going to call it a BC, just buoyancy compensator. And it's just, that's like the common term for it, you know? Look down here where this blue graphic is. This is a perfect way to tell you what this jacket does for you when you're diving. All right. Without it, if you didn't have the jacket at all, and you put weights, these are the integrated weights that go into the jacket. See these little quick pull release things? Okay, I will. I sure will, Ella. Remind me and I'll do it. I forgot all about that. Thank you for reminding me. So if you just had weights on and you were scuba diving, picture it right here where there's everything that's at the bottom is a coral reef. And they're very, very sensitive animals, remember, so we don't want to step on them or kick them or any of that kind of stuff. If we're heavy with weights, we sink down to the bottom and what do? Bang, 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 bang. Or, you know, there's a current a lot of times when you're diving. So you hold on to something because you're banging along the bottom and you want to get a grip, you know? That's called negative buoyancy, where you're too heavy and you just keep banging on the bottom. With scuba diving, you want to be neutrally buoyant, not too light and not too heavy, right? So when I was in the pool last week and you saw me put my hand above my head and hit that little button on the jacket right here, the BC, I'm from the tank filling my BC with air, which helps me just like a life jacket. Boing, boing, boing. I'm positively buoyant, floating at the top of the pool. When I want to go down, I hold that up above my head again, hit the other button, let all the air out. Sort of like when you're pushing a balloon. So all the air lets out of my jacket, there's weight in my jacket, and it sinks me down. The magic of scuba diving, ladies and gentlemen, is to find neutral buoyancy. And my neutral buoyancy is going to be different than yours because it has to do with our body makeup, not just how heavy you are, but our body makeup. So a lot of times, if you're diving in freshwater, you're not going to need as much weight as if you're diving in saltwater. If you are, a lot of times women don't need as much weight as men. That depends. I tend to use twice as much weight as other women that I dive with just because of my body's makeup. So when you take your scuba diving class, they walk you through that. There's like a formula for it. And for me, diving as an aquarium diver for years, yeah, you could take it as an insult, Jake. But the thing you got to keep in mind is you want to be neutrally buoyant because you want to be able to be totally still like a hovercraft in the water. Because the more still you are, all those incredible creatures come out because they're comfortable. You're not banging on the reef or swimming around with your hands moving crazy. So neutrally buoyant is definitely what you want. And that's why this jacket is so important. Specialty training. We didn't talk too much about knives. I'm a big believer in knives. Which one of you, was it Sam? Did you get your scuba certification? Somebody in here had gotten theirs. No, sorry. I know somebody. Oh yeah, it was Tanner. Thank you, Ella. And Jake, you got yours too? You got your scuba certification? If you did, that is so cool. Yeah. And remember, guys, once you get it once, even if you're 10, you have it for the rest of your life. So you might want to take a refresher if you haven't been diving in a while. That's so cool, Jake. So I am a firm believer in diving with a knife, a dive knife, all the time, because I can't tell you how many times you're swimming along and checking things out and you get caught in some fishing line that got, somebody snagged under the reef, they cut it loose, and a diver can get caught in it. Now, usually it's not caught in it like, you can't get up or anything, but if there's any way to be able to cut it off, that's kind of nice, because that means the fish and everything else that could get into trouble with it, you can take it and throw it away. Trash, different things like that. That's what happens to dolphins and fish. Yes, that is. Yeah, and was that what happened with Winter? Or was it a net that got wrapped around her tail? Yeah. A dive flag is a must. A lot of places it is a requirement. If you are a boater, oh yeah, that's right. If you are a boater, it's a requirement to have this international dive flag up, which means divers in the water. Okay? Don't come within, 100 feet of our boat or whatever. I love bringing a light with me, because a lot of times, even when we go to on the Swim with the Manatees trip, I think we have about 12 or 15 from this class going now. Yay, that'll be so fun. Still plenty of room. But when we did a checkout dive there once, not on the Swim with the Manatee trip, but the same place that we're going, and I tell this story, so you'll hear it again. But it's dark under the water there, and there's a really cool cave system. So Miss Joanne and I take the boat over there, and we could pop in the water and swim around, but it's really hard to see. So when we took our rescue class there, if you have dive lights, you can see the big, cave in there, and it looks really cool. And one time I also, I dove in like a spring that the water's freshwater spring is coming out of the water, and it's in this great big like cave system, and it's big, like if you were like sort of like in here sitting in the lobby, two men could stand on top of each other and you wouldn't touch the ceiling. And we had a what do you call it, those you break it and you shake it glow sticks, and if you looked up on the roof of the cave, there were all these little glowing bubbles, because somebody had broken their dive stick, and the fluorescent glowing stuff just keeps glowing. So the whole top of the cave was these little glowing bubbles. It was so cool. Something just that simple, But those little shake it break sticks are great to dive with, because you can see your buddy. Yeah. I showed you all these pictures. We didn't get much time to talk about it, but a lot of times you guys, when you come to this class, you want to be a dolphin trainer or you want to be a marine biologist. But through the class, my goal is that you understand there are lots more jobs, lots more things that you can do with marine science than being a dolphin trainer or by being just a marine biologist. In this picture, marine biology has a lot to do with scientific data, gathering data, processing data, that sort of thing. Yes, Genevieve is right. It is poison for fish. Looked cool, but not cool. Yeah. Did you know that the military has divers? So I've got a little fun fact for you. Do you know what one of the highest paid positions at Disney World is? One of the highest paid positions at Disney World. Yes. Yep. It is, because think about this. When you go to Disney World and there's all these fountains and all these lights underwater and all these pyrotechnics, the fireworks take off out of the water. Somebody has got to go into that water and set all those fireworks. Somebody's got to go and fix all the fountains. Someone's got to go and change the light bulbs. So it's called high risk diving. It's a scientific diving, right? Because it's not just normal recreational diving. It's commercial diving, because you're using commercial equipment like these guys. You'll use an underwater solder gun. an underwater saw, things like that. So since it's a high risk position, it carries a lot of pay. Yes, that's what high risk means. Yep. No, it really is. It does mean, because remember, you're working with electronics underwater, right? So you got to know what you're doing. Picture anything that you drive by in your town, anything, even your sewage treatment, the dams that control your water flow, any of those things are examples of what scuba divers could be used for. Here, sadly, here's one of the biggest divers are used rescue divers for the fire department. If the Marine Division, if you have someone that's been lost or a boat that's turned over in a lake, one of the first things they do is send out the diving rescue team. Right, Sam? Like if you look at this military, these are actually military devices in the water that they're working on. Some of them explosive. This guy is James Cameron, the gentleman that did the submersibles for the Titanic, the movie The Titanic. Yep. Yeah. So just keep in mind, guys, it's so much bigger than feeding fish. Lots of cool things you can do. So Erica, I wanted to tell you a little bit about Erica. I worked with her at the aquarium. She was a marine biologist. I am not. Ella, I think, asked me that earlier. I am not a marine biologist. I took marine biology in college. I took oceanography. I took scuba diving. I fell in love with everything to do with marine science. But I got my degree in computer science. So wasn't my thing. But that's how I got my way through, paid my way through college, is that I, remember I told you I wasn't a really quick learner. I needed to visually see things, that I needed to write them down, record them, listen to them again. It would help me process it better, right? Otherwise I wasn't really that good in school. So I took really, really good notes because it helped me learn better. And my professor saw them, my oceanography professor, and he said, listen, we have a bunch of hearing impaired students in the class, and the disabilities division of the school pays students to sell their notes. Would you be interested? Yes. So I made great money selling my notes to the hearing impaired students for oceanography, marine science, and scuba class. So that paid really well. And then they asked if I could tutor, because I had such really good grades in that. And remember, I didn't really have good grades in anything until I got to college, and I got to kind of do it my way. So I started tutoring deaf students in marine science and oceanography. And the pay was really, really good. And I don't know sign language other than thank you and I'm sorry. That's about all I know. So I had to have a translator with me to be able to communicate with my student. But then they would pass the class, and I got my college paid for, which was wonderful. Yeah. So anyway, I met Erica on your screen. She worked as a marine biologist right out of college. This is 25, 30 years ago, at the aquarium with me. Her hobby is that she loved remote operated vehicles. That's what ROV stands for. So she spent years making very little money, feeding fish, cleaning up fish poop. That's what a lot of times you do when you get out of college with a marine science degree. You do your time for not much money and gain your experience. So she went on, decided years later to open like a summer camp for students, creating from scratch ROVs. So how many of you have ever seen like an erector set that, you take all these like metal pieces and motors and you get to put them all together and all that stuff? I don't know how popular they are now, but they were really popular when I was young. So she goes in, does a summer camp, and builds these robots, these remote operated vehicles. And sometimes they do underwater ones, so they can race them underwater. Cool stuff. Well, it really took off. So she started doing summer camps like crazy with all the students. And then the next thing you know, she started picking up contracts with these different companies who needed some type of remote operated vehicle. Stay with me. This is cool. NASA, our U.S. government space program, picked up her remote operated vehicles, had her design one for the space station. What you're looking at here is the underwater space station simulator. It simulates the one that's in space. This is an underwater one in Houston, Texas. And this is a picture of Erica going down with the astronauts and teaching them how to use her remote operated arm that is now on the space station. How cool is that? I know, it's so cool. So every time you think, oh, you know, if I become a marine biologist, I'm only going to make $12 an hour and I have to do all the dirty work. Yes, you do. And if you were a banker, you have to do the same thing. Everybody has to put their time in learning from other people before them, making very little money while you're learning and doing the dirty work. And then you move your way up. Okay? Yes. Yes, I thought you'd like Erica's story. All right, I told you about being 10. She told you all about diving. All that information's on the class page from last week. Moving on to cephalopods. Okay, so let me see time. How are we doing on time? 1:50. Okay, so we've got 40 minutes. Okay, so cephalopods. It's one of my favorite lessons. I know. I say that all the time. But, you know, one of the cool things about this is that I have the cool story to tell you about when we were on a mission trip to the Bahamas. And I thought I was going to die. If I did not see an octopus, I didn't know what I was going to do. Yep. So the cool story that I have and the video, if I can bring it up, I'll show you, has to do with God showing up big time. Okay? Big, big, big time. So let's shoot through our lesson, and then I'll tell you about that at the end. Cephalopod. Say that word. I'm coming in close. Cephalopod. Say it out loud. Can your cat hear you? Curled up on the couch? Cephalopod. Yeah. Octopus, squid, nautilus. I'll show you a picture of a nautilus in a minute. And a cuttlefish. Those all fall into the category of cephalopod. I'll tell you, Matic, it's coming. So what does cephalopod mean? Anybody want to take a guess? I got some hints on your screen. Emily, Matic, Sam, Ella.
Head, foot.
Okay. Yes, head, foot. So we also learned about, what was that other one that was stomach, foot? Someone.
Gastropod.
Okay. Jake's popping in there to tell us. Yep, gastropod. Very good, you guys. So are you getting the theme? Sometimes the word is a little confusing, but if you can break it down, what does the word mean? It makes it a little easier to figure it out. Some really cool things you're going to learn about cephalopods this week. Nectonic. What does nectonic mean? Don't hop on mic. Type it in. What does nectonic mean? Good. Swimming. That's right. Mollusks. What does that mean? Remember that word? They are mollusks. Yep. In a way, they do. We'll talk about that. Yep. Bullet-shaped. That's kind of self-explanatory, right? Yeah. They don't always have a shell like you're thinking they have a shell, Ella. I'll show you in just a minute. And there's that funny word, hyponome. You're going to learn about that this week. But the guy in yellow that looks like a superhero on your screen has something to do with it. And this word right here has something to do with it too. These are the things, the basics that you need to know about cephalopods. They're underwater jets, yes. All right, this is probably one of my favorite animals on the planet. Okay, I have a lot of experience with these guys, and the only reason why, and I shouldn't say that, I have a lot of experience with these guys dead, unfortunately, but a cuttlefish is in the cephalopod family. You guys are probably more familiar with like squid and octopus, that sort of thing. A cuttlefish is very, very similar, except if you look at this little cartoon picture, its legs are very, very small. So this is actually the symbol for a cuttlefish if we're scuba diving and I can't talk to you underwater. This is cuttlefish because those little tiny tentacles. All right. Now, it's a mollusk, but it doesn't have a shell. How can that be? A cuttle bone. And remind me next week, because I have some up on my wall in the classroom at home. Yeah, it doesn't cuddle. I have a cuttle bone, and you know, some of the ones that I get from Italy, I'm not kidding you, you guys, they're like this big, which means the cuttlefish has to be this big. All right. Normally they're little guys, but yes, these are the ones you give to your parakeet. So if you go to a pet store, you can purchase cuttle bones for like, you know, not very much money at all. They're super, super soft. I'll take a little instrument to it and kind of shave off a little piece so you can see it next week. But a cuttle bone is really the shell that a cuttlefish makes. It's just inside its body. So the reason I have a lot of experience with these is that we do a lot of trips to Italy, like study abroad, where when you're in high school, you go with me for a month and we live in Italy. And it's right on the beach, the Adriatic Sea. So a lot of times, you know, Mrs. Henriksen, she has to go exploring. We throw on our jackets, rain or shine, and we go walk the beach. Well, if the weather's been rough and the sea has been angry, cuttlefish don't do well with any cephalopods, don't do well with really rough seas. So that time of the year, the seas are usually a little rougher, just at the beginning when we get there. And when we go and walk the beach, you can find tons of cuttle bones, which means they've died previously and now the cuttle bones are washing up on the beach. But every once in a while, you get a cuttlefish that washes up on the beach, a fresh one. And of course, Mrs. Henriksen, this is going to sound kind of strange, but Mrs. Henriksen always travels with a pocket knife because you never know what cool things you might want to dissect on the beach when you're walking. So we cut it open right there on the beach so I can show you the ink sac, the cuttle bone, how cool their eyes are, all those kind of things. And most of them have like a little beak inside too that you can actually feel. So yeah, it's just a little tiny knife, but it works great for stuff like that. These guys have an amazing ability to change color, and I'm going to show you because it truly is amazing. No, it was already dead. The cuttle bones, really, Matic, there isn't much to do with them. You know, you can sell them to a pet store, but usually you won't get very much money for them. And in Italy, they don't do anything with them because they just don't look at their beaches like we do. Yeah. Yeah, they probably do because the cuttle bone will break up into little crunchy pieces, you know. If you take a look at the picture, you can see all the different pieces. Don't forget there is a beak in here. When we get to the octopus and the squid, same thing. A lot of times when we're passing a little octopus around on the beach in Italy, remember I told you we find cool things? 2 years in a row we found ourselves when we were out exploring the rocks. And another year, this Italian fisherman that didn't speak any English said, come here. He was gathering oysters. And he put this little octopus in our hands and we got to pass him around. And one of my students said, why is my hand is bleeding right here? Well, because the octopus was getting scared from us passing him all around and he nipped him right here on his hand. And he couldn't even feel it. All he could see was a little tiny blood, but they had a little tiny beak. And when they get scared, they nailed him. So don't let that make you be afraid. If you ever get the chance to hold an octopus, I recommend it. Yeah. All right, so let me show you this cool video of a cuttlefish, and you'll get a great idea of what I'm talking about when I say they can change color. They're very, very interactive, and this goes for all cephalopods, okay? So check this out. Hang on, let me switch. I got a bunch of screens open. Hold on. Here you go.
It's cooler in 3 dimensions, but they're pretty neat regardless. These things seem genuinely interested in us.
This one keeps changing color.
Oh, does he?
Yeah.
This one right here?
No, this one. He's changed color a couple times.
Now, I'm going to keep playing this, but I want you two things. Really pay attention, okay? Watch the screen, because when they change really fast.
Yeah, they are known for that capability. Wish I had a mirror.
Yeah.
He did seem maybe to react just a little.
I don't think he sees it.
Maybe not.
So you can get in front of him more.
Okay, one more thing I got to tell you. So the gentleman that's recording this video has a video camera where you can turn the screen around, the video that actually shows you what you're recording. So like a mirror, he turned it around so the cuttlefish could see his reflection in the video. Watch what he does.
These things seem genuinely interested in it.
This one keeps changing color.
Oh, does he?
Yeah.
This one right here?
No, this one. He's changed color a couple times.
Yeah, they are known for that capability. Wish I had a mirror.
Yeah.
He did seem maybe to react just a little.
I don't think he sees it.
Maybe not.
So you can get in front of him more.
Got the little screen turned around so Mr. Cuttlefish can see himself. At least that's the principle, but he doesn't seem to be reacting. This one, however, seems interesting. Doesn't he?
Noticed it. He noticed the lens anyhow.
Well, he's looking. He's moving over to the screen.
And he changed color. He turned really dark.
He's zeroing in on the screen, but unfortunately that moves him out of view. Like, okay, it's going.
It's safe.
Ooh, it's going now.
Light
Ooh.
Oh, here he goes dark again, and he's going up.
He sees it. My God, I'd say he definitely sees it, wouldn't you?
Yep. Definitely reacting. Now a bunch of the others are coming up with that.
Like, what's going on?
And they're all turning dark.
The ones that are seeing it, huh? Okay, I probably ought not traumatize the fish this way.
So I just think it's the coolest thing. Until they see it, there was no reaction at all. As soon as they do, the game changes. But yeah, pretty cool. I don't know why they're called cuttlefish. That would be a great thing to Google. Not really sure why. I just know they're just so cool. And I'm not really sure why in this one part of Italy that we go to, there are so many cuttlefish. It's actually part of their staple, their diet. And did you notice, guys, that they have one tentacle on the bottom that's longer, and then the rest are shorter when we talk about that? Yeah, and it does freak them out for sure. If you looked up on YouTube like octopus changing color and things like that, you'll see a lot of videos of different scientific experiments they've done where they get a tank that's clear on the bottom. That's okay, Eva, welcome. When they have a clear tank on the bottom and they slip like this checkerboard material underneath the bottom of the tank, and the octopus that's in the tank changes to a checkerboard material or checkerboard pattern. It is amazing. Amazing how their brains work. Okay, so here's a squid. If you take a look at the picture, a little bit different, things. The two long tentacle arms. When they talk about the posterior surface, look at those two little angled, almost like what do you call it? An airplane wing. Two little wings on the side of their head. Their eyes are amazing. Amazing. If you've ever had the chance to dissect a squid. And always look for the funnel because they're going to have one that goes in and one that goes out. The collar is what they call the upper part where the head connects to the foot. So 10 arms. Squid, remember, 10. Short lifespan. They only have babies one time. Many of those species can be bioluminescent. If you look on the class page, I think I have a little tiny video that is, it's literally like, I think it's not even a minute long, but it shows a flashing squid. And just like you saw the cuttlefish do just now, that's what they do. When they feel threatened, they flash. And with a squid, they flash in bioluminescence, or you can see the color change on them. But with a cuttlefish, it's way more. Cuttlefish and octopus, you can see way more of the physical color change. Oh, that's cool, Shayla. Did you see that, guys, what Shayla wrote? Remember the word shoals. Yes. As far as I know, they do. Yeah. Now, this is always a big debate. I usually have one of the guys in the class always say, Mrs. Henriksen, how can that really be real? Okay, so there really is such a thing as a giant squid. The only reason you don't hear about them that often is because they live in extremely deep water. So really the only time that you're ever going to come across one of these is if they were to wash up on shore, which if they're in extremely deep water, the chances of that are pretty remote. Or they're captured by a deep sea fisherman, which are the pictures that you see on your screen right now. Okay? It could be, Carrie. The difference between a school of fish is, Emily, fish school. A shoal is what squid do. When they're in a group, it's called a shoal. Just like we learned about seals, and sea lions are in a herd, right? Yeah, so these are really, really huge. And I have a surprise for you later. Top right corner. Yeah, that's a giant squid. Now this is an example of a dead one, you know? So it's bleached white. When they have when they have the pink fleshy tones like that, they either have just died, but like the one on the left here coming out of the water, or in this case, it was kept on ice on the fishing vessel until they brought it ashore for scientists to dissect it. Okay. Just know that sometimes when you see this, crazy giant sunfish thing and you're like, that can't possibly be real. Research it and find out. Octopus, 8 arms. Very, very smart. Anybody remember the Rubik's Cube? Anybody seen one of those? No. So 2 cool things. Octopus are extremely intelligent. I'll show you an example of it here in a minute. The other thing is they're extremely tasty. And I know that sounds horrible because we love animals. But in many, many, many parts of the world, octopus is a delicacy. Let me give you an example. We eat octopus in the Bahamas. We eat more octopus in Spain. We eat octopus in France. We eat the most octopus in Italy. So really on any of the trips that you go with Mrs. Henriksen, other than swim with the manatees, you're going to be trying octopus. And I always ask everybody, okay, one little no thank you helping. Because if you've ever gone to a restaurant and you had calamari, Noah's saying, yep. So calamari is like fried squid, really. And a lot of times it gets really rubbery. Like if you tore off a little piece of your shoe and you started chewing on it. That's because it's been frozen a bunch of times. It's been breaded. They throw it in a fry vat of oil. They put some lemon on it. Yep. And they serve it up as an appetizer with some dipping sauce. So if it tastes kind of like rubbery, it's old. It's just been frozen a lot. If it tastes like macaroni, like pasta that was just cooked, that you bite into it and it's super, super tender, it literally tastes like it's pasta. That's octopus. That's fresh octopus. Yeah. All right, let me show you a cool video of a super smart octopus. Oh, wait. First, let me show you. This is an example of some octopus that we ate in Italy. And I'm pleased to tell you, all 26 of my high school students enjoyed a one little bite. One little bite. And I'm not a big fan of a lot of seafood. I don't like any kind of seafood that tastes like, well, seafood, you know? Yeah, I love mozzarella sticks with the red sauce. Too much of the red sauce, probably. But yeah, a lot of times when I was in Cancun a couple weeks ago, they served, they call it pulpo in Spanish, pulpo, P-U-L-P-O, and they served pulpo ceviche. Anybody know what ceviche is? Genevieve's out. So ceviche is when you take like lime or lemon and you actually cook something in the acids of the fruit. So it's raw, but it's basically cooked in the acids of the citrus. And it's really, really good. I know, sounds kind of scary, but it's really cool. All right, so first I'm going to show you a video of underwater astonishments. It's self-explanatory. Let me see how we're doing on time. Yeah, let me show you this video. Stand by. I think it's right here. Yep. Okay, here we go.
We're going to go on a dive to the deep sea, and anyone that's had that lovely opportunity knows that for about 2.5 hours on the way down, it's a perfectly positively pitch black world. And we used to see the most mysterious animals out the window that you couldn't describe, these blinking lights, a world of bioluminescence like fireflies. Dr. Edith Witter, she's now at the Ocean Research and Conservation Association, was able to come up with a camera that could capture some of these incredible animals, and that's what you're seeing here on the screen. That's all bioluminescence, like I said, just like fireflies. There's a flying turkey under turkey. I'm a geologist by training, but I love that. And you see some of the bioluminescence they use to avoid being eaten, some they use to attract prey, but all of it from an artistic point of view is just positively amazing. And a lot of what goes on inside, there's a fish with glowing eyes, pulsating eyes. Some of the colors are designed to hypnotize, these lovely patterns. And then this last one of my favorites, this pinwheel design, just absolutely amazing, every single dive. That's the unknown world, and today we've only explored about 3% of what's out there in the ocean. Already we found the world's highest mountains, world's deepest valleys, underwater lakes, underwater waterfalls. A lot of that we shared with you from the stage, and in a place where we thought no life at all, we find more life, we think, in diversity and density than the tropical rainforest, which tells us that we don't know much about this planet at all. There's still 97%, and either that 97% is empty or just full of surprises. But I want to jump up to shallow water now and look at some creatures that are positively amazing. These cephalopods, headfoots. As a kid, I knew them as calamari mostly, but this is an octopus. This is the work of Dr. Roger Hanlon at the Marine Biological Lab. And just fascinating how cephalopods can, with their eyes, incredible eyes, sense their surrounding, look at light, look at patterns. Here's an octopus moving across the reef, finds a spot to settle down, curls up, and then disappears into the background. Tough thing to do. In the next bit, we're going to see a couple of squid. These are squid. Now, males, when they fight, if they're really aggressive, they turn white. And these two males are fighting. They do it by bouncing their butts together, which is an interesting concept. Now, here's a male on the left and a female on the right. And now the male has managed to split his coloration so that the female only always sees the kinder, gentler squid in him. And the male's on the We're going to see it again. Let's take a look at it again. Watch the coloration. White on the right, brown on the left. He takes a step back, so he's keeping off the other males by splitting his body, and he comes up on the other side. Bingo. Now, I'm told that's not just a squid phenomenon with males, but I don't know if that's it. Cuttlefish. I love cuttlefish. This is a giant Australian cuttlefish, and there he is, his droopy little eyes up here. But they could do pretty amazing things too. Here we're going to see one backing into a crevice, and watch his tentacles. He just pulls them in, makes them look just like algae. Disappears right into the background. Positively amazing. Here's two males fighting. Once again, they're smart enough, these cephalopods, they know not to hurt each other, but look at the patterns that they can do with their skin. Okay? Just an amazing thing. Here's an octopus. Sometimes they don't want to be seen when they move because predators can see them. And here's this guy actually can make himself look like a rock, and looking at his environment can actually slide across the bottom using the waves and the shadows so he can't be seen. He blends right into his motion blends right into the background. The moving rock trick. So we're learning lots new from the shallow water, still exploring that deep, learning lots from the shallow water. There's a good reason why. I mean, the shallow water is full of predators. Here's a barracuda. And if you're an octopus or a cephalopod, you need to really understand how to use your surroundings to hide. In the next scene, you're going to see a nice coral bottom. And you see that an octopus would stand out very easily there if you couldn't use your camouflage, use your skin to change color and texture. Here's some algae in the foreground. And an octopus. Isn't that amazing? Now Roger spooked him, so he took off, a cloud of ink, lands, and when he lands, the octopus says, "Look, I've been seen, best thing to do is get as big as I can get." That big brown makes his eye spot very big, so he's bluffing. Let's do it backwards. I thought he was joking when he first showed it to me. I thought it was all graphics. So here it is in reverse. Watch the skin color. Watch the skin texture. Just an amazing animal. Can change color and texture to match the surroundings. Watch him blend right into this algae. 1, 2, 3. And now
That is probably one of my favorite videos. Is it not so cool? I hope you get a chance to see that. If you didn't, for whatever reason, it'll be on the class page after class. It truly is one of my favorite videos because you can just see how amazing it is. Yeah. Yes, it'll be on the class page. Great one to show mom and dad at dinner. Yeah. All right, mimic octopus. Let me show you this one. How are we doing on time? Good? Okay. This is another cool one.
Unknown until it was spotted, first by fishermen off the coast of Indonesia in the 1990s. It looked like an octopus, but it could morph its shape in an instant to appear as seemingly any animal around it. At first, no one had any idea what it was.
The first time I saw it, I just was blown away. You couldn't get a more spectacular animal. It really is the pinnacle of wizardry.
Biologist Mark Norman was the first scientist to study this seemingly shapeless creature. He named it the mimic octopus.
The mimic octopus makes itself look like a living, moving animal. So it pulls all its arms around behind its body and swims along like a poisonous flatfish called a banded sole. In other cases, if it's getting attacked, it puts 6 arms down a hole and raises the other 2 arms to look like a poisonous sea snake that has bands along its body. If that's not enough, it'll swim along looking like a poisonous lionfish with these banded arms looking like the banded spines that come off these very deadly fish.
So far, 15 separate species are known to be in the mimic octopus act, and Norman is not always sure exactly what the mimic is doing. He observed this mimic scuttling along the sea bottom, looking something like a furry turkey with human legs.
Sometimes it's hard when you watch a mimic octopus doing what it does to interpret what's going on. It's a bit like looking at ink spots in a psychiatrist's office going, I don't know what that is. It could be a piano, it could be a fridge. So you get 3 or 4 divers together and you'll argue all night trying to work out what we think it was mimicking.
Where did nature's greatest actor come from?
And don't we know where he came from? That's on the class page. Yep, should be. See why I totally love the videos about these guys? I'm telling you, cephalopods are my favorite. Okay, so I've got two more to show you. This one is one opening a jar, or I should say trying to open a jar. So do you think he's going to open it? Let's see.
No, no. It's just
Making them
so in the jar.
He's going to.
make it sink.
Yep.
Because it can't. Hey, Mr. Octopus.
Oh, he is gonna do it, isn't he? Oh, that's so cool.
There's a perfectly good peanut butter jar.
And a perfectly nice crab.
The fish is trying to get away.
Oh my goodness. Oh, that's phenomenal.
Look at that bloody ending. That fish is trying to get away. He's getting his suction cups on his nose.
That's unbelievable.
Oh, he's got it. He's twisting. Yeah, he is. He got it there. The fish is really getting scared. That's how they should introduce new fish to the jar.
Poor little fishy. All right, so let me see if I can pull this up real quick, and I'll tell you the story about, hang on just for a second while I pull this up, and I'll tell you the story about the cephalopod. I know, I wish I could do that too, right? Now, I think this is on my personal page. It's hard for me to find it sometimes, so let me, is it right here? Yep, I got it. Oh my gosh, I haven't shown this in I don't know how many classes, okay? So let me, I'm not sure if this will let me show you. So let's see. I'm just gonna try quick and see if it'll show. Okay, so once upon a time, we went to the Bahamas. Let me see what the next slide says here. Yep, so here's homework. I'm gonna pull your homework slide up while I tell you this story. Went to the Bahamas. This was one of our first trips that we did. And we were going down with a lot of like baseball gear and donations that we had all brought down and stuff. And this was our first time to this location, and I really, really, really wanted to see an octopus. Hi, Hope. So every night we would do a devotion time, and while we were praying, we'd go around the circle, and the kids would say, what powerful thing had happened with them that day, or what they were praying for, specifically a little boy that they met in the park, or all these sweet, sweet things. And Mrs. Henriksen, they'd get all the way around to Mrs. Henriksen, and Mrs. Henriksen would say, Lord, I just want to see an octopus. Please just help us see an octopus. So day 1, day 2, day 3, day 4, we go around that night, and everybody works around the circle. How was your day? Praying for this person. They get all the way around to Mrs. Henriksen, and the students start going, you can skip Mrs. Henriksen. She just wants to see an octopus. So every day I prayed for the same thing. Lord, please let us see an octopus. It'd be so amazing if we could see an octopus. So we were there for 7 days. And on like day 3, we set up a trap under the dock right off the back of our house. And we checked it every day, twice a day, reloaded it with food because we heard an octopus lived under the dock. No, empty. So night 6, okay, we pray. The kids are teasing me mercilessly because they're like, she's lost her mind. We're on day 6 and she's still praying for an octopus. What are the chances? Day 7. This is what we see. Now, this is a trip that I had so the Tupperware container came at the end. So you might have seen a picture, but this is a video that is not live. It's okay, baby. You can see it. Yep. Have a great day, Zach. This is not live on the internet. Okay, so this is one that that you can only see in my class. So I will post a video of it. So if you have to leave, you'll be able to see it. But this is my first time with the GoPro, and my husband put it on a stick so I could actually put it underwater and see different cool things that were in the cracks and crevices. Watch and behold what we found. My GoPro going under the water.
You guys look it! Hey!
That's me screaming, flipping out on the surface. Can you guys see it okay?
Don't move, okay? Because you're clouding up the water.
Now, a couple things I want you to notice is look around this octopus's den. This is a great way to find octopus. They will have all of these little shells, pieces of glass, shiny things piled up outside their den. They loved to collect treasures. And if this video can run long enough, you're going to see me showing the students. Here's a broken piece of pottery over there. You're going to see me showing the students that when we reach into the water and I have one of them pick up one of the treasures. And if you watch, the octopus will reach its tentacles over like he just did there and grab his treasure because he doesn't want anybody touching stuff. Okay? So remember, I prayed for 6 days for this guy. And not only did we get to see an octopus, but we got to dance with him. Can you hear his suction cups on the screen? Now, he wants my GoPro camera in his den. So he was really trying to take it from me. This is the underside of the octopus. Can you imagine? I was completely wigging out. So when he lets go, he's going to go back down into his little hole again. So anyway, let me just tell you that this went on for an hour and a half. So we didn't just get to see an octopus, we got to literally be with him for an hour and a half. And by the end, he let us pick him up in our hands and literally pet his head like a cat. It was the coolest thing ever. Now, I think right here I go around the side of him a little bit and you'll be able to see his funnel. Let's see. I didn't name him. He does look like a grumpy old man, doesn't he? Now look at his texture. We just saw in that other video. Now see, she's moving the shell. Watch what he does. Don't touch my stuff. Look at the texture of his body. Now, look right here. He wants the camera again. Look right here. You'll see the funnel. Okay, watch right here. And you can watch something come out of it, I think. I'm not really sure if he's pooping or inking here, but just watch. It'll come back down here. Ready? Watch. He wants that camera. Watch. Yeah, so I think he was pooping. Isn't that so cool, you guys? So we got to pet him. We ran home and got a Tupperware container. He climbed in the Tupperware container and spread out all of his arms so we could take the most incredible pictures. But look at how lumpy he is here. And then when you look at that picture, look at how smooth he is in the picture. It was completely amazing. So I just can't tell you how cool that was. Yeah, I really loved it. So that is my story for you. My story is that if you ever think that you really would like to see something, pray fervently, pray diligently, because God will deliver big time, as he did with Mrs. Henriksen and her octopus sighting. Yeah. So here's your homework for this week. Lesson 10, week 11. Yep. Hank and Frank, huh, Ella? Enjoy your activity. Remember, we're on week 11, so we have 4 more weeks of class. 4. So if you haven't gotten going on your experiments yet, make sure you do, okay? Yeah. All right, you want the movie of the week? I told you I had one surprise. Had to do with something colossal. You're welcome, baby. I love it. I love being in class with you. Thanks for letting me come into your home every Tuesday. Ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls, you can bring the colossal squid home this week. Discovery Channel has a really cool series, 2 episodes, and you'll be able to see the squid that was in the pictures that was caught on the fisherman's boat, the deep sea fisherman's boat. All right, guys. Hope you enjoyed class today. Yep, 2 episodes. Yep. Very cool. Yeah, you guys are welcome. You guys have a great week, and I will see you next week. Remind me about the cuttle bone, and I'll bring one up under the camera so you can take a look at it. Okay? Bye, guys. Have a great week.